Welcome back, Thailand Tribe. Today's video, we're going to talk about the time that Chad almost got deported from his Thai village. Oh yeah, baby. Okay. Now, this is actually a true story. This probably happened maybe like 8 months ago. And this is going to be a video that you might want to go make some popcorn and sit down and enjoy the story. Okay, I'm not lying. Maybe you have some dinner, you're eating some dinner while you're listening to this. And this is the first time I've told this story. Okay, I never told a story in brief or little hidden moments inside longer videos. Now, some of you do know, even in my success and manifesting videos, that Aang and I were just kind of growing tired of being up here in a Thai village. And the real reason we're up here is because we're taking care of Aang's dad. His health was not doing well at all about 1.5 years ago. Okay, so fast forward time, it's been 1.5 years. We didn't think we're going to be up here this long. But really this incident, it was really on the icing on the cake, like why we didn't want to be up here, why we were pushing to move, why we were pushing to buy a house and go to Jamchien. This was really the icing on the cake that kind of what did it for us. And a lot of you know that, I've always talked about in some of my videos that it was hard for me to work up here because they blasted music all over the houses, blasted music. And I mean blast music, because what you don't know is all these walls are cement. When you live in a traditional Thai style house, the walls are cement, the roof is metal. So when sound comes in, it doesn't buffer the sound, it enhances the sound. So once sound comes into your house, it's even louder. So a lot of you know I've had an issue with that. That's what kind of led to it, because we had a house over here that we called the police on many times. I want to say 6-7 times. Okay, then we had the next door neighbor house over here that we eventually had to call the cops on many times. So that's kind of how the story escalated, because the next door neighbor over here, they kept on blasting music. So in the beginning, we didn't call the cops right away. We would just, most of the time, Aang would walk over and I would walk over with Aang, and Aang would tell him to turn down the music. Okay. A couple times I kind of did it by myself because Aang was sick and I was working and I didn't want to wake up Aang to have her go tell him to turn down the music, so I did it. That's kind of, when you kind of have that experience, I'm not saying everybody in Thailand is going to be like this, but like when you're a full on and you're complaining to another Thai, like sometimes Thai can cock an attitude with you. They kind of can have an attitude like, how dare you tell me what to do? How dare you tell me to turn down my music? So most of the time, I'm not even lying. So most of the time, besides them turning it down, they would crank it even louder. Okay. We did this probably 8 times, guys. And this was over a set of months. Okay. This wasn't like a week or anything like that. So eventually Aang and we had a conversation. And I told Aang to call the police. And Aang said, well, no, that's not how we do things in the village. Like in the village, see, the village they go by really kind of old tradition. Like they have, I don't know what they call it. There's a name in Thai. But they have a guy in charge of the whole village. He's not police. Okay, he's not Thai police. It's kind of almost like a mayor. Kind of like a mayor of the village. But he's in charge of the whole village. So the customs or the politics around it is you don't call the police, you call the guy in the village. Then the guy in the village is supposed to handle it. So that's what we did. We called the guy in the village. We thought he was going to handle it. So the day we called him, they're literally just blasting music. Okay, like blasting. And so he said he was going to come over and talk to everybody. So we're actually sitting outside, and since they're our next door neighbor, we could see everything happening. So what he did, he sent over like one of his friends just to warn them to turn down their music, we're complaining and stuff like that. Kind of a warning. But they didn't listen. They still blasted their music. And but eventually when he came over, we thought he was on a side with us, but he didn't. So when they came over, he sided with them. And he brought with him like there's always like 2 or 3 people that help him with the village. He brought them with him, and they're blasting music the whole time. It ended up being a great big argument, a great big fight, not a fist fight or anything, but a great big argument, screaming argument and stuff like that. And one of the guys that helped control the village, while they're blasting the music, I'm like, well, they need to turn it down. And he's like tapping his wrist. He's like, oh, they can play till 8 p.m. at night. And I'm like, yeah, but they can play at normal. They don't need to blast it where it's coming over to me because I can't work. I can't do anything. We can't sleep or work or do anything over there. They need to turn it down. So we got nowhere. Then on top of that, when the girl kind of all over the place a little bit, but I haven't told this story for a long time. But at the same time, the woman that lives in the house that's blasting the music, her and her husband comes outside. Right when they come outside, they're asking for my work permit. Because they're kind of arguing like, how dare you to tell me to turn down my music? Where's your work permit? You shouldn't even be up here in Thailand. You shouldn't even be working in Thailand without a work permit. So you have no right to tell me to turn down my music. That's the whole stance, okay? So that night it went nowhere. They basically blasted the music the rest of the night. The guy in the village wouldn't do anything. He was on their side. I'll tell you that connection in a little bit here. And so then Aang and I said, well, we'll see how tomorrow goes. The next day, they blasted, like literally, guys, they blasted music all day long. Like I couldn't even work at all, okay? That's why sometimes I'm doing videos in little cubby holes and stuff like that. I can't go outside and walk because they're flipping blasting music all the time. So I can't have music going into the mics. So anyway, that day they blasted music all day long. We actually recorded everything, okay, on the phones, okay? So we had proof. Plus we have the cameras on the side of the house that picks up the sound as well. So we had tons of proof. So we thought, you know what, we're gonna go to the police. So the next day we're gonna go to the police. So the next day was a Tuesday, so we went to the Thai police. So we went to the Thai police. That's when we knew everybody was connected. Like lots of times in a village life, and not all villages are like this, of course, so I can't like pigeonhole every village. But lots of times in these villages, especially poor villages, it's kind of like run kind of like mafia style. It's like whoever has the most money in the village will kind of run the village a little bit. Okay, now that could be good or bad because it can be run by drug mafia. Okay, so the next door neighbor, they were connected like in kind of with the drug mafia a little bit. And they were connected because the woman's husband, his brother was really big in the village. So basically, they thought they could do whatever they wanted to do. That was kind of the dynamic we're dealing with. So we're just really dealing with this major politics where the police don't want to touch it either. I mean, unless you just keep on calling, then they have to do something. But anyway, we go to the police. He wants the girl, the woman who owns the house next door. He wants her to come. Because he wants basically her and Aang and myself to sit down, and he would be the mediator to basically stop the nonsense. Okay, she wouldn't come. Like she wouldn't come. One, she was drunk because she's a drinker, and she was big mouth to the police. She's like, well, I'm going to a bigger police. I'm gonna complain bigger. Okay. So we spent the whole day at that police station actually waiting for her. She never showed up. But then when we left, Aang said, she said, Chad, she didn't go to the bigger police. She went to immigration. Okay. So, I would probably expect immigration to come because she says that there's no bigger to police that she can go to. Like she called immigration. So then I asked Aang, and I was like, well, how can she call immigration? Because I did nothing, you know what I mean? Plus I'm clean, my passport's clean and stuff like that. But then Aang basically came back and like, yeah, but she's connected, she has friends, her husband's brother is big in the village, so they'll just find somebody to call immigration and make up something you did, and they'll show up. Okay. So that's what we were kind of thinking, because that's what Ing told me. For the next 5 days, I didn't, like, there was crickets in the village for the next 5 days. It was anywhere from 3 to 5 days, something like that. I mean, literally, the village was so flipping quiet. You couldn't even, I mean, you could literally hear a pin drop in the village. It was so weird. It was like the Twilight Zone, if you're old enough to remember that series. Okay. It's like I was living in a little scary movie. It's like, I've never in my life, like, what's going on? Like, everything's so eerie. Like, it's eerie quiet here. And so it was like day 4, day 5. I'm actually taking a nap on the couch. Ang's getting ready to cook. She's in the kitchen. All of a sudden, Ang comes, gets me. She says, the police are here. There's police cars out front. And, you know, I kind of wake up and I kind of look out the window. We have a gate, you know, we have a big wall and a big gate. So you can kind of see the cars like beyond the gate a little bit. So then I said, well, are they here for us? You know what I mean? Because we didn't know, because lots of times, you know, there's a lot of issues with several houses around here that the police come. So Ang said, well, I don't know, but I'll go out and check. Then Ang went outside the gate. I followed, but I stayed inside the gate. So I could hear Ang talk. And at first, I didn't think they were here for us, or here for me anyway, is because, you know, they were pronouncing the names wrong. So at first, Ang said, well, no, you got the wrong house. That's not me. But they were just pronouncing everything wrong. Then eventually I figured out, oh, they're here for me. So I went out the gate to kind of see what's going on. And of course, like, I'm like Sputtercup. Like, no joke, guys, okay? There was 3 immigration officers. There was 2 or 3 police and a guy in the village. There's like 6 or 7 people, okay? And they actually had a truck. When they deport you, they actually bring a truck to deport you. They actually had a truck like down the road, but you couldn't see it. But they told me later on they had a truck here. So I introduced myself to the immigration officer. And no, it was really nice. I was like, hey, you guys want to come in? Because you don't have to invite them in, guys. That's what, literally with Thai law. I know a lot of you guys don't believe me, but Thailand is not a third world country. If you're from the United States or Europe, Thailand has almost the same flipping laws. Okay, you don't have to invite them in. They need a search warrant. Okay, but I didn't play that game. I was like, hey, do you want to come in, sit down, kind of get you something to drink? So they actually came inside. And we were walking them over to the picnic table. And I said, hey, can I, do you want to see my passport? You want to see my visa? And at first they said, no. But then when I got closer to the picnic table, he said, oh, I want to see your passport. And I said, okay. And I keep everything all together anyway. I keep my passport, my visa, everything's together. So I grab everything, I take it out to him. And he's flipping through my passport. He's looking at my visa. And at this time, he's kind of talking to both of us. He's talking to me and Ang, just because he's not fluent with English. He spoke English, but just not fluent. So he spoke to Ang in Thai, then me in English. So at first, he's like, I'm just trying to understand what's going on here. Okay. And at this point, guys, I know I really want to say is the immigration handled this situation so crazy well. Okay, seriously, like, kudos to Thailand immigration, because I mean, honestly, when this wasn't even a negative in my eyes, when I kind of saw how immigration handled this, it made me respect Thailand even more. Okay, even though we're kind of talking about something kind of negative a little bit, if you've lasted this long in the video. So kudos to Thailand immigration on this stuff, because he did say, he was kind of saying it in Thai and English and stuff like that. He's like, well, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on, because I got a complaint about you, and the complaint wasn't very, very good. But he said, but when I meet you in person and I see you guys, like, it doesn't match the story. It doesn't match the story what they're telling me. Okay, so he's like, I'm just trying to understand what's going on. I'm just trying to understand the dynamics. Okay. because like what happened was the guy in the village knew their story, but didn't tell the immigration officer. The Thai police knew their story, but didn't tell the immigration officer. You know, all they were basically what they told the immigration officer, that I was like a lunatic in the Thai village. Maybe some of you think that I was running around telling people that they're not allowed to play music. I was running around trying to stop wedding ceremonies. I was running around trying to stop monk ceremonies and stuff like that. So they're trying to make it bigger than what it really was. But the reason why I said the immigration officer was really good, because he wasn't buying it. He wasn't buying what they were saying. So then I told him, Eng told him. So I told him, I was like, well, I go, there's only 2 houses we really have a problem with. But I said, it's all documented because we've called the police many, many times on these houses. Like, we have a problem with this house over here. We have a problem right now. We have a problem with the next door neighbor. The immigration, he didn't know anything about this. This was just like new information to him. So he's like, where are these houses? And we literally point and show him. And he's like, oh, okay. So he's figuring everything out in his mind. And so Eng's explaining everything. He's talking to me. We have the dogs outside. Luckily, the dog's really well behaved. Like, even at one point, we're sitting at the picnic table. Lucky, the brown dog we have, he jumps up in between us. So I'm sitting here, Lucky's sitting here. The immigration officer is sitting right beside me, right beside him. So I have my arm around the dog, around Lucky. Oh my God, it was a crazy time. But anyway, to continue on with my story, then they look at my visa. So I have a destination Thailand visa. So that's a 5-year multiple entry visa. So one of the things that then they started to explain my visa to the guy in the village. Because one of the things the guy in the village said was, well, Chad's been up here too long. He's been up here for a year and he's never left. He's not supposed to be up here. Like, he's under 50, he's under retirement age, he's working, he needs a work permit. So that's coming from the guy in the village. But when we linked it, it's all coming from the connection from the girl next door that we had an issue with. Do you understand? Like, she's telling him everything to say, but the guy in the village is kind of being gullible a little bit and just believing it. But later on, the guy in the village kind of lost face at the end of this, because of course I'm still here in Thailand. I didn't get deported, baby. Okay. So basically, the immigration officer, one of them, he's explaining how my visa works to the guy in the village. He's like, oh, he's on a destination Thailand visa. Then they ask me what I do for work, and I say I'm an engineer and stuff like that. I actually brought him into my office inside the house, and I said, because I was open about it. I said, you want to see what I do? And they're like, yeah. So literally everybody came in the house, everybody came into the office. I had the computer set up. I turned on the computers and I showed them everything I do for work. I do for a living, which is all like software engineer and stuff like that. And he's like, oh no, thank you. Like, showing me everything you do. And we go back outside. He's continually telling the guy in the village, like, how my visa works. And he's doing everything legal. Like, he's allowed. Like, how the destination Thailand visa works, it's for 5 years, it's multiple entry. He can leave and come back. That's why you never see him leave, because he's left and came back and you don't know. He's doing it in one day. Because a destination Thailand visa, like, you have to leave every 6 months. And then the whole thing with the work permit came up, that I'm working up here. Then they said, well, the destination Thailand visa, that's like the nickname is a digital nomad visa. Like, you're allowed to work online and stuff like that. So he's like he's allowed to work. So when he's telling people, hey, can you turn down the music? I'm working. He's allowed to work. You don't need a work permit because he has the right visa for that. So like, the immigration officer kind of called it a rich visa. So basically from there, the guy in the village didn't know what to say. Like, he kind of was made stupid, like, to basically look stupid, really, because he was just believing what the next door neighbor was telling him. Because the next door neighbor was telling him, he's not supposed to be up here. He's up here hiding. And then after that, the immigration officer, Like he handed back my passport. He stayed for a while. Like this wasn't, I mean, they were here probably for an hour, guys. Okay. And he told Aang, he continued talking to Aang, continued trying to figure out, kind of what's going on in the village, then blasting music. Because really in Thailand, guys, like blasting music, I don't want to say it's illegal. Okay, that's maybe not the right word, but you're not supposed to do it. Like if you're being too loud, it's really a 5,000 baht fine. So basically what was happening, like the police weren't doing anything about it. The police would show up and do nothing, just give a warning. Like we've called the police like 12 times. Like you can't call the police 12 times on somebody and then they do nothing. So we told the immigration officer this. So finally, this was like, this is why I love the Thailand immigration, because finally he literally turned to the guy in the village and he turned to the Thai police and said, you guys got to be 50-50. He was like, you guys have to be 50-50 now. You can't be 100% with one person. You got to be 50-50. You got to be fair. He's like, you're not being fair. You're not being fair with Chad. You're not being fair with Chad and Aang. You're one-sided. And then the guy in the village was like, well, yeah, I'm gonna have a great big meeting in the village about the music, about, just respect and stuff like that, which he never did. And that was it. He looked at Aang, looked at me. It's like, I checked Chad out before I came. Everything's perfect on his passport. He's done everything. He's done everything the right way. There's nothing. But then at the end of the conversation, they left. We walked them out. They left. And the next door, like they're a little bit far down, but the next door, there's a lot of people out there like peeking through, like waiting for me to get deported, but it didn't happen. Oh, I boosted their bubble that day. But anyway, like even the next day, the Thai immigration officer followed up with Aang to see how everything was going. It was either the next day or a couple days down the road. That's why I really respect the Thailand immigration here. Like he really just did a great job of figuring out what's going on. Figuring out it's basically like a false report. You know what I mean? And Aang did ask him at that time. Aang kind of asked him when he called to check up on us, make sure everything was okay. Like she did ask him, well, who called? Because Aang's brother-in-law said you need to find out who called and filed a false police report with Chad, because that way we could sue him. But the immigration officer wouldn't tell us, because they actually can get in a lot of trouble. So the immigration officer didn't go that far, would tell us who. I didn't really want, I just basically was let bygones be bygones. Nothing happened. They tried to get me in trouble. It didn't work. So, just move on from it. That was kind of my take on it. But that's when Aang figured out, because the immigration officer told her, he's like, I'll be honest with you. Like, I was really pissed off because when they called me and a guy in the village told me everything was going on, like, he's like, I drove from far away. I came from far to take Chad, to take him. Okay. He's like, there was a truck on the next road over ready to take him. Okay. That's how we knew about the truck, because he told us afterwards. He's like, but when I showed up and I saw you, I saw Chad, you guys were talking to me, you invited me in, you were really nice. Like I started to scratch in my head, like, there's something odd here. There's something like I'm missing here. It's like somebody didn't tell me the whole story here. And because lots of times with Thai immigration guys, like they deal with so many people, like, they're good. They're good at their job. They can tell, you know what I mean? So, and he's actually followed up with us several times since the incident. We haven't heard from him for a while, but every once in a while he'll kind of follow up and kind of see how things are going up in the village and stuff like that. And now, like, since that kind of incident happened, like the village has been, it's still a village, it's still a Thai village. You still got poverty consciousness. There's still kind of like nothing to do. but it has kind of shaped up a lot better since we've been here, since that incident. Because like since immigration didn't do anything, then it kind of made it more, because the immigration kind of saw what was going on in the village. So it made immigration more protect me, around kind of what was the dynamics of the village, the politics of the village. Then the immigration officer told Aang, he was like, oh, don't worry, don't worry. Like, I already know what's going on in the village. I already know the politics. I already know I'm Thai. I'm Thai. Don't worry about Chad. We'll protect him. So, but Aang was kind of worried because they could say something else or make up something or whatever. But that was just kind of the dynamics we were playing with. Like every time we called the Thai police on them because they're blasting music, they would they would call immigration on me. And one thing I want to share with you really fast, like it was on my mind, is one of the things the immigration officer told me, like I kind of did a separate video on this as well, is like with anything happens, anything minor, something big happens, that's why like you really always have to make sure you're updating everything. Like you're basically making sure you have no like overstays on your passport, stuff like that. Even like if you move, you need to update your address. You understand? That's like that's why I learned when the immigration officer came here, because Aang and me, we, literally 2 weeks before they came, something like that, I just updated my address, like here in Surin. And like if I didn't, it wouldn't have been a big deal if I didn't update my address. I probably would have had to pay a fine. I wouldn't have been deported over it, but I would have had to pay a fine. But it's just all those little things, like making sure there's no overstays, making sure you're doing everything by the book, making sure if you move, you change addresses, you change condos, you update your address with Thai immigration. Okay, you don't wait till you leave and come back. You don't wait until you file an extension. You go to immigration and update your address, because that's really like a Thai law. They want to know exactly where you are all points of your stay. Okay, if your address changes, you better go to immigration and change it. Okay, you don't want to give them any reason where you got to pay a fine or they do want to deport you for something. Okay, that's why he told Aang, like, dude, Chad was like, when I looked at the history of him, he was just like perfect. No, he doesn't have no overstays. He was out in. Every time he changed places, his address changed, so everything was perfect. So he's like, I can't do anything to the guy. He did everything by the book. That's the only piece of information I want to give you. But anyway, tribe, if you have questions about this or questions about Thailand, comment below. I'll help you out as much as possible. If you want to jump into the tribe, the best tribe of planet YouTube, the link is in the description. And if you want to work with me or reach out to me, all the links are inside the description, of course. Other than that, remember, I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.